Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Thursday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I'm Paul Dottino. He's two-time Super Bowl champ Jonathan Casillas. So glad you could join us today for the next hour to talk Giants football. Our phone number is 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513, or you can find us on social media, on Twitter, or I guess it's X, hashtag Giants Chat. And as always, an archive of this show, if you're not listening to it live, is available on the Giants' entire podcast network, on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcasts. As always, we're coming to you from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. And folks, if you were sleeping over the last 24 hours, well, we're going to get you caught up on the fact that rookie quarterback Jackson Dart is advancing in the concussion protocol, and that meant yesterday he was entitled to do non-contact practice drills. Now, that was done in the field house. Giants were able to practice in there yesterday. And basically what it comes down to is this. As it stands, that wasn't a field house. Yeah, I was trying to remember. As it comes down to is this. He's got one more stage to clear. That last stage, stage 5 in the protocol. Have you ever been in it, by the way?
Back in the day, it wasn't really the same type of situation.
Okay, now they do 5 specific stages. Okay, he's got one more stage to clear, and that's the last one. They may not clear him today. They may not even clear him tomorrow, because on Saturday, the Giants have a walkthrough Saturday morning before they board the plane to go to Detroit. As long as he's cleared by then, that's all that matters. Whether it's today, tomorrow, as long as he's cleared by Saturday, he's good to go for the game. And interim head coach Mike Kafka said yesterday, if he's medically cleared to go and the staff is satisfied with that, he starts. Jameis Winston becomes the number 2 against the Lions.
And Jackson Dart took first team reps yesterday as well. Mm-hmm. That was good to hear.
He's on track.
That he's actually out there taking first team reps. That means he's headed in the right direction. Fingers crossed. Hopefully he can get cleared, because I love that kid. I love the way he plays the game of football, and I hope this is a learning lesson for him, because we've all heard, right? Things should be done differently, play calling wise, to not have the ball in his hands. It's really him, because it's only so much you can coach him up to do, and he has to learn how to play the quarterback position in the NFL in terms of taking care of himself. There's only so much a coach can do, because some of these plays where he's taking hits, they're not design runs. They're scramble plays that he basically chooses to run, but he has to understand that it's not just him out there. Yes, you should be tough. This is a tough man's game, but there has to be discernment on some of these decisions, and sliding is a good thing. And he has shown the ability to slide. He's shown that he has made the decision to slide multiple times.
He's getting better.
He's getting better. He's getting better. Hopefully this is a learning thing for him. Tiki Barber says it, and I said it too. Rookies are dumb, because they're young, and it's just because they don't have the experience. Mm-hmm. That's what I say. The rookies don't have the experience, and you live and you learn. Hopefully this is a learning experience for him, and he could be out there. I like the way the offense looked with Jameis. I think he was decisive last week. I think he got in and out of huddle. There was no pre-game glitches or pre-snap glitches or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I thought he moved the ball significantly well. He threw the ball, willingness to throw the ball downfield, and in his words, he had what was the term he used? A surgical execution. I don't know if it was that per se.
I might debate that a little bit.
No, right. I don't know if it was that per se, but he looked like a veteran quarterback.
Yes, he did. Well, he's a 10-year pro.
Yeah, he looked like a veteran quarterback that understood the offense very well. He has a short-term memory, which is really good when you do make a mistake, because he's willing to throw that. He's a guy that won't be discouraged, and I think that's one of his good traits that he has. And the Jameis Winston show was in full effect last week, Paul.
Yes, it was. Quite frankly, the Packers probably could have had at least 3, maybe 4 interceptions. They did get the last one in the end zone, which unfortunately was the nail in the coffin for the Giants in the game. But hey, if Jameis Winston, and if by some stretch of the imagination the Giants get sidetracked with Dart's progress this week, and it's determined that he doesn't play, Jameis Winston is certainly fully capable of producing a competitive football game.
He's serviceable, and I love what he said after the game. I don't know if it was on Monday. They asked him, what were you doing while you were waiting? You were second, third string really when Russell Wilson was active. He was like, I wasn't waiting, I was preparing. And that mentality, man, you got to be a fan of Jameis Winston, and not just, his on-field play, but the off-the-field stuff that he brings, the positivity that he brings, the emotion that he brings to the game. And, I had a conversation with him last week. He's just a fiery guy. He's a guy that I think you can rally behind. He's a good leader out there.
Okay, so now I need you to put your helmet back on and be a defensive player for me. You know that there's a lot of hype about Dark's scrambling. You know there's a lot of hype about his designed running plays. You also are aware that there's a lot of talk here in New York about cutting that down, and the Giants have shown him a bunch of videos to try to teach him about there are different situations and ways you can reduce the amount of hits that you take. You're a defensive player, and I'm not necessarily talking about as an evil type of mentality. But this quarterback likes to run, wants to run, and there's a lot of force, perhaps outside the building, but also inside the building, about being safer and not running. Do you approach that quarterback any differently when you line up opposite his snap?
Only in terms of his willingness to run, especially on a third down situation in the red zone, which the run for a quarterback goes up when you have a quarterback of that style like Cam Newton. Cam Newton, 3rd and 5, wasn't a passing situation for them. It was about 50-50, maybe even heavier towards the run. That's kind of the Giants when Jackson Dart has the ball, especially in the red zone. So it's not the thought process of like, oh, man, this guy's susceptible or he's been knocked out of a game.
No, and that's why I said it's not an evil question. I'm not asking you in that regard regarding injury factor. I'm talking about strategic.
Yeah, you have to be very aware of the running capabilities of a quarterback because it adds an extra blocker. Usually a quarterback on a traditional run play, he's out of the play. He's turning his back to the defense and he's handing the ball off and he doesn't do anything. Now you add him in because he's the runner and you get the additional running back as a fullback or pulling guard per se or pulling H-back. You get an extra body. So you have to have 11 guys aware of the quarterback run situation, and you do have to be aware of a guy that can do that. That's why every now and again when you have a non-mobile quarterback and he takes out the read zone and he runs the ball, nobody accounts for him because people are not used to him running the ball. If you're not accounting for a guy, there's really nobody to cover him because you have one extra guy. Every team is basically on run plays. You're slated to go against 10 guys because the 11th guy is the quarterback. He's usually out of the game in terms of blocking, in terms of, the scheme of the run.
Sure.
But when you add him into the run game and he is the guy holding the ball, you have kind of a mismatch and an advantage over the defense. So the defense has to be aware of it, and you have to have a job specifically for someone to take care of the quarterback run game.
Now, this may be an irrelevant question because once you're on the field, everything happens so fast, so there's not a lot of time as a defensive player to process. You have to react. But if he is running a run-pass option, an RPO play, or he's running a read option play, are you, in the back of your mind, be able to process and think, okay, they probably don't want him to run on this play, so take that option out of it, and we're just going to play it straight?
No,
you can't do it, right?
You can't. No,
you can't.
Not
it's
as
too
a
quick.
Defensive guy. Yeah, the thing you have to understand is he is a quarterback. Quarterbacks do slide, and when you're going in, even if he breaks the line of scrimmage and he becomes a real runner, he's basically not a quarterback anymore, but he still has the option to slide, which running backs, any offensive player can do that. Running backs do not do that. I haven't really seen a running back slide at all. Like in watching ball now, like when I played, before I played, receivers do it. A.J. Brown does it all the time. He's a bigger wide receiver, but he's a guy that gets down and doesn't like the contact. But the slide is differently because they have protection when you slide. So I would say as a defender, be wary of him sliding and make sure you pull off because that will hurt our team if you engage with him. And, guys pull off late a couple weeks ago against Chicago. Caleb Williams slid really late.
Yes.
Bobby kind of hit him in his knee, but he was avoiding him. But you heard the crowd kind of get involved in that. And I understand because your quarterback got hit in the head, but his willingness to move away from him.
He tried to adjust.
It's hard, and that's the thing. It's so hard to do that. But if you understand that you're going against a quarterback, he does have the option to do that. And you, not to take anything off of it, but you have to be aware of what that looks like because it doesn't look like a guy leaning forward to get extra yardage, which he is a runner. You can hit him however you need to hit him. But once he slides, you have to pull off because they'll call a penalty on that.
All right, I'm going to ask you one other thing before we start getting to the phone calls. I know you folks want to dial us up, 201-939-4513. The Giants' running game, these last 2 weeks, Tyrone Tracy ran for over 70 yards against San Francisco, a solid defense and limited carries, but he was productive. And then last week against Green Bay, a very good rushing defense. Ran for nearly 90 yards and looked awfully good doing it. Back-to-back games now where he looks like the Tyrone Tracy we saw last year. And this offensive line, in my opinion, has not nearly gotten enough credit for lifting themselves up from the basement of the NFL to clearly middle of the pack and functional. And in conjunction now with first Scadaboo and now Tracy, the Giants' running game is now something I think defenses have to recognize.
Yeah, 100%. And the Giants showed last week that was their mentality. You know, that was Kafka's first game as the interim head coach. And I think he wanted to put that physical presence out there that the Giants have lacked. And I'm not just saying that from visual aspects, but statistically, right? Defensively and offensively. They haven't successfully ran the ball consistently, and defensively they've given up the worst yards per carry in the NFL. And when you think of physicality in NFL, you think about establishing the run. And if I'm not mistaken, about 80% of the time on first down, they ran the football last week. So that's something that they wanted to do. I think tempo had a lot to do with that too. They were in and out the huddle. They had a kind of fast-paced tempo, and they established that early against the Packers last week. And it kind of was the dictator of how the game was going to go, right? No matter what it was, whether they were getting 2 or 3 yards, they still decided to stick to the run. And when you can do that, I think it opens up things on offense, right? And I think when you look at Detroit and what they can do, think about the game that they just came off of against the Eagles. Jared Goff struggled throwing the ball with almost 50 times, and he only had 13 completions.
He was really inaccurate. It was a rough game.
And they basically lost 3 out of the last 5, but they had good, like fantastic games in between those 3 losses. And I would think that this team would try to get back to being the physical presence that they have. This team, when Jared Goff's on, he's throwing for 80% completion percentage. This team can score 50 points. They did it already. They can go over 500 yards. This is a dangerous team, but they are, I think, they're like start and go with their run game.
Gibbs and Montgomery.
Oh, man.
Without a doubt.
Sonic and Knuckles. I think they're the best running back tandem in the league.
They very well may be.
And when you look at them, how they bounce back from losses, they establish the run early in games. So just like the Giants, when you want to have that physical presence and get something going in the passing game, you mostly, people think, oh, get some quick passes. Yeah, you can do that too, but also run the ball so you can get the safeties to move up a little bit, get the linebackers to bite and play action, and that works as well.
Okay, you just led me into another question on the flip side of the ball, though. Okay, you inadvertently did it.
Let's go.
Sorry, folks. We're going to have to hold on a second.
Good. We got some callers, but let's talk some ball.
So this Lions O-line is a solid offensive line. We know they want to run it. They've got 2 backs who are very complementary in their styles, and they can hurt you in so many different ways. And you're the Giants. You're last in the NFL dealing with other teams' running games. You're down to potentially, if Flanagan Fowles, who was ill and did not practice yesterday, depending upon his availability, you could be down to your 4th string inside linebacker next to Bobby Okereke.
Wow.
Folks, this is a tall mountain to climb to expect the Giants to contain the Lions' rushing attack. I'm going to throw something out here, Jonathan, and the Giants have not shown a propensity to do it. Might you go with 4 down linemen? Go with a heavy front? Because the linebacking core is extremely thin. In fact, it's right to the bone. Never mind thin. They're cut to the bone. And some of these formations where you have edge rushers lining up as a defensive end, how are they going to hold up against this team?
Yeah, that's rough, man. Flanagan Fowles being out. Paulson and Debo still questionable, right, for this week. Did he practice this week? He didn't practice. Did he practice yesterday?
They were talking just before we came in here with defensive coordinator Shane Bowen about it, and he's still very iffy as to whether or not he's going to be able to go.
So, man, it's rough when you get into this part of the season and nutrition has taken a toll on the team. And I would employ whatever they feel is necessary. And the thing is, the Giants do have depth among the defensive line. They do have multiple pass rushers, stand-up guys, and as the weeks has gone on, I've seen Burns playing off the ball significantly more. I think he's definitely one of the best, if not the best, pass rusher in the league, but he has some versatility. And at the first couple weeks of the season, I was like, why do you have him off the ball? Ever since I've said that, I've always watched him off the ball. Paul, he's just as good as any middle linebacker when he's off the ball. I swear
he's a terrific all-around player.
He's a fantastic football player. So
he should be all-pro.
When you have a guy like that adds that versatility, I can see you maybe putting Abdul maybe on the line as more of a more defensive line, hand in the ground type of guy, and maybe adding Burns to the linebacker group in the rotational piece right next to Bobby Okereke, because he can do it, and he can do it at a very high level. I'm not saying the Giants are going to do that, but because you do have so many outside linebacker, pass rusher type guys, some of these guys like Burns can do very well off the ball playing inside the box. And I think you have to deploy that because those are your best players, and you have to put your best players out there.
I'm just suggesting that maybe in this case, because of the matchup, and again, knowing how thin you are, that you go to more of a 4-3 defense than a 3-4.
I see what you're saying.
You know, maybe this is the week that Jordan Riley comes off the practice squad. Maybe DJ Davidson has to be part of that down front with Robertson Harris and Dexter Lawrence. You know, maybe they've got to do some significant tweaking specifically because of this matchup, knowing that the Lions are going to take the hammer to you. They're not going to hide that.
My only opposition to that is you say basically the Giants are like almost like a 5-2 type of situation when you have two stand-up guys. If you do a 4-3, basically fundamentally traditional old 4-3 defense with 4 down linemen, that means you need 3 linebackers, Paul.
Yeah, I know.
So that's where the Giants lack at. They lack the middle linebacker position, which is basically weak side, strong side. Now, you can take that Sam linebacker, but you still have to have 2 middle linebackers in that regard. That's the position I played. I was a true will linebacker in the 4-3. And the Giants, that position, that's the position that they're on their 4th guy if Flanagan Fowles is out.
Yeah.
So that's the position you have to figure out, because no matter what defense you deploy, whether it's a 4-4 like old high school stuff, whether it's a 5-2, 4-3, whatever the situation is, you have to have a weak side linebacker. That's who the Giants do not have. That's the guy that they're on their 4th guy with.
I know. The only thing you could possibly do, I hate to say this, but just bring Belton in as make him the pseudo guy.
Yeah, but he's the nickel.
I know.
So you would have to bring in somebody else to bring.
I get it. I'm just throwing out different ideas because there's no easy answer here.
There's no easy answer. But
no matter what you do, there's a problem.
That's why I brought up Burns, because Burns has showed the ability to play off the ball, kind of in that hybrid, weak side linebacker type role, and Robertson Harris, he's been getting a lot of great reps this year. I feel like he's having a great season for the New York Giants, filling in when he needs to fill in. Add him into maybe the starting lineup, bring off Burns, and now you're going to take away from Burns' ability to rush a passer, but you need a middle weak side linebacker. You need that guy, especially against this team that wants to establish a run. And they're not just running in big personnel, 21 and 12, which is 2 running backs and 2 tight ends groups. They're running in 11 personnel. So you probably need to match up with 11 in certain situations.
And they'll still run
with 2 linebackers on the field, off the ball linebackers.
I know.
So this is a team that's going to present. Yeah, this is one of the better teams in the NFL. When they're rolling, they're the best team in the NFL.
And the matchup of how they play it really does not suit the Giants this week at all.
They have the best downfield blocking wide receivers.
Yeah, they do.
They have the best run after catch skill players as a whole. Jahmyr Gibbs is the best running back receiver in the game, and he's like the 4th best receiver on this team. Because Amon-Ra St. Brown's incredible. Jameson Williams' speed is unmatched. Sam Laporta, one of the greatest after the catch guys in the NFL at the tight end position. And David Montgomery's no slouch either. So this team presents a lot of problems on offense. The only guy that I've seen be human at times, which we saw last week the Eagles did to him, is when you get pressure on Jared Goff, he's not the 80% completion percentage guy.
Okay, the problem is, though, if you're going to blitz heavy and you're going to come with a lot of pressure, chances are you're going to get gouged by a draw
Big
play.
Big plays will happen. Yep, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Oh,
but
man.
How do you, because I love the way that Kafka basically said that what he wanted to do post the game. He said, I wanted to be aggressive on offense, defense, and special teams. I think a team like Detroit, you may have to live or die by the sword with this team. You do have to blitz on running situations
You're gonna have to
because you're short-handed
send
on
a bunch of
defense.
safeties between the tackles, right?
You have
Try
to
jam
confuse
some
this
of those
offense a little bit
jam
because
some of the lanes.
they're good enough when they understand what you're doing and you're sitting back in a certain defense, a shell defense. This quarterback can pick you apart. This line is good enough to get on man-to-man, a hat on a hat. They'll double the right guys, a.k.a. Dexter Lawrence. And they have the best blocking receivers in the game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua, those are two guys who are very tremendous receivers.
Puka's with the Rams.
No. I'm just talking about in the league.
Oh, yeah.
They're the two best that you don't know when they're going to run or pass because these guys, you don't have to sub in a guy. Remember Dwayne Harris for us?
Sure.
We would sub him in on run plays because he was a tremendous run blocker.
Oh, he was tough.
These guys block like H-backs. I brought in Puka Nacua because he's the same as Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
These guys, they will play inside the box like a tight end, but then they also release on pass plays. So the Giants have to do a good job, and I like that Kafka used the word aggressive. You have to attack this offense.
And then Williams runs by you deep.
Listen, you got to hold up. You got to give up something. You got to give up something, and it might be a game where you do your best to shut down the run, and you make them one-dimensional. You make them a big play team. Yes, you could give up big plays with that. This team is one of the best teams in big plays, but when they get their run game going, they are the best team in the NFL, Paul. They're the best team in the NFL. When they can run the ball for 230 yards, when they can pass the ball for over 300, i.e. against the Commanders, they're unstoppable.
Got to get a lead on them for sure.
Got to do something.
To at least alter some of their comfort zone.
I used to say this, and Greg Williams used to say this, and we had a great offense with Drew Brees back in my Saints days. The key was against a Peyton Manning-led team, a Tom Brady-led team, high-flying, high-powered offenses. We would always say we have to steal a possession, whether that was creating takeaways on defense or fake punt, fake field goals, which I know that's not really that frequent now, but how else do you steal a possession from this high-powered offense? You want to limit the amount of time that they're out there with the ball because this offense is so dangerous, and so many different players can take it to the house 60 yards, and then they got the David Montgomery, just a hard-nosed, tough physical running back that'll give you those tough 3-4 yards on a consistent basis.
See, that's why, for me, the best philosophy going into this game isn't even about what the Giants do defensively, because I think the Lions are going to pretty much have their way with what they can do in this matchup. I think it's all about the Giants being able to control the clock, the clock, hold the ball, bring it down into the mud, try to get the game to a 21-17 kind of game. Limit the possessions to maybe 8 possessions.
The Giants
apiece.
did that last week.
Well,
they did a good job, and they didn't finish. That's the key that the Giants haven't done this year, because when you look at the Dallas game, when you look at the Denver game, when you look at some of the games, the Bears game, right? The Giants, they were in all of those games. Of course, they had a big lead against against the Broncos. But I think when you look at this season and you look at it postseason, and we're talking about it, I think the common theme was the Giants didn't know how to finish. Right, because they're in every game, Paul.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Commanders game and the Chiefs game early in the season.
I know what you mean.
But Dart and with Jameis Winston they're in every game. They have to figure out how to finish.
Even the Washington game, they were in it early in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they were. It was 14-6,
it was
right? One score game.
One score.
Yeah, until they said that last touchdown.
They're not getting hammered.
They're not. They're in every game. The Giants have to figure out a way, no matter what happens in this game, to finish the game. Because if you can keep this offense, which is a high-flying offense, like the Eagles did last week, and you can hold them to a couple of scores, and I say a couple of scores, 14 to 17 points, maybe even 20, 21 points, That's a great day for a defense against this offense.
100%.
Now you have to figure out a way to match that on offense. Like you said, I think the ball control is going to be huge. Not turning the ball over, not giving them an extra possession.
Well, Goff won't give it to you.
Stealing, yeah, exactly. And these running backs barely fumble.
No,
they do a good job in taking care of the football. You have to figure out a way to get the ball from them. If you can't take the ball away from their offense, a fake punt, going for it on fourth down. I know this team does it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's built in their DNA, even when it doesn't make any sense. It didn't make no sense when they were doing it last week.
I know.
But they still did it. Do you match them with that, or do you try to find another way to take advantage and take the ball away from this offense?
I give you two numbers before we go to our phone calls, and this just tells you the kind of discipline and the kind of foundation that the Lions come from. They have only 11 drop passes as a team so far this year.
Wow.
11.
And we spoke about 3 weeks ago, and the Giants were at 19.
Oh, they're well over 20.
Yeah, they were over 20-something that week. They had multiple drops that week.
In fact, I got. Well, I don't even want to look at
drop chart?
I don't even want to look at it right now.
You started on another page?
And how about, no, jeez. And how about this one? They have the fewest missed tackles in the league. 40 missed tackles after 10 games.
Wow.
That's it.
That's Kelvin Shepard right there, baby.
Former Giants linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
You know him well.
Yes, I do.
Good guy.
Yep.
Always enjoyed,
and they got some
always
really
enjoyed
good
being around
linebackers,
Kelvin.
man. Campbell and Anzalone, man, they're very
Campbell's
solid.
an old school
Yes,
middle
he
linebacker
is.
guy. He's like a
Downhill
Chris
guy.
Spielman kind of
In
guy,
the
right?
box
Remember
guy.
him?
Yep, but he does very well in the passing game as well, too. He can do a good job covering some of these skilled running backs. I mean, you're going against Jahmyr Gibbs on a consistent basis. You better learn how to cover those guys.
So, in any case, yeah, this is a really rough matchup for the Giants. I love talking real football, man.
For sure, man.
Always. Isn't it great?
Always. I look forward to this when Schmelk sent out the schedule and he was like, there's a mix-up. I didn't know if it was us matching up was the mix-up. And I said, Paulie, yes, I love talking to my guy, Paul Dottino. Nothing against Schmelk. But we got some history. The last couple years we watched every single home game together, and then we both get fired up when we talk ball. For sure.
We eat X's and O's like a bowl of chicken soup. We just love it. All right, we're going to go to our phones at 201-939-4513. Let's go line 3. Rob and Yonkers, you're first up on the show. Hello.
Wow, yo.
Good afternoon, guys. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for calling.
All right, so my first thing is defense. I know you guys, what does football start when you start like 5, 6 years old? The first thing they teach you is, hey, when you're on defense, wrap the guy up.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me out of my mind when I see Banks bumping his shoulder into running backs in the end zone, and then he's always the last line of defense. He puts no effort in.
I saw the play.
It drives me crazy.
I know the one you're talking about.
He literally puts wrap him up. You literally took your shoulder pad and bumped him against his shoulder pad and stood there and looked at him run in the end zone. And I'm like, what are you doing? And the last game, I forgot what it was, but he was the last line of defense. And he runs towards the player's ready in the end zone. Okay, I give up. That's just it. I just give up. And I still don't understand why are there so many open receivers. That was 2 games in a row. There are so many open receivers. It's 11 on 11. If it's 11 on 11, someone should be guarding someone.
Well,
Am
you
I
know
right or
what?
wrong?
It wasn't the open receivers that beat the Giants last Sunday. It was Green Bay's game-winning touchdown drive where they had 2 different plays, a 30-yard catch, and then the one in the end zone where the defensive back, first it was Flott, and then it was on a Black, who had blanket coverage. They were right there. They couldn't cover a guy any better. And still, the Packer receivers made the play, got the 50-50 ball, and the Giants wound up losing the game. So
even the Malik Willis touchdown with Banks on coverage, that was
there.
That was a really good coverage by Banks, and those plays happened. And I'm gonna speak to that play you were talking about. That was when the running back ran the ball in, right? I showed it to the Hangout group the other day. And if you watch that play over, and I'm not saying it's his fault. I mean, it is his fault. Flanagan fouls, right? The B gap opened. It was a huge B gap. And that's his gap. And he hesitated. He bit on the outside. And when you're at this point of the season right now, guys are trying to do more than their job.
Mm-hmm.
You do your job, because that's supposed to be a tackle for loss. 3 people was on Dexter Lawrence on that play.
Yes.
The B gap opened up. You blitz that as an outside linebacker, right? And you don't put your guy Banks in that situation. My bro, I don't expect these cornerbacks to tackle running backs. I don't. I really don't. That's when I say do your job plus. You don't do somebody else's job. You do your job plus. Because a lot of these runs, right, especially runs like zone runs that hit on one side and are designed to bend back, or the outside runs that stay front side or back side, whatever the case is, they're designed to be one-on-one with a safety or a corner. I do not expect no corner in the league to tackle any running back, because these running backs, that's why they get paid the way they do, because they can make a guy miss, they can break a tackle, they can run through him. Now, what I've seen from Banks, and I'm with you, I don't understand why he keep trying to tackle these guys high. Mm-hmm. You don't tackle them high when they outweigh you by 30, 40 pounds. You shoot at their legs. That is a legal play that you can do in the NFL. And you have the advantage as a smaller guy. You can shoot at their legs, and that will help you, because you know why? The next time he sees you out there, he's going to have a little decision to make. He's not going to be like, oh, this guy don't want to tackle me. No, he's going to shoot at your legs, and now you have to think about that. Right. And you cause that little bit of indecision. I've seen some tremendous tackling defensive backs, Malcolm Jenkins being one of them. He was a corner turned safety. Of course, everybody know Malcolm. Malcolm played corner at Ohio State. He was a big guy. He didn't tackle guys up top. He shot their legs out because he could do that. And that made him a better tackler, because now the guys might slow down when it comes to point of contact. Now Malcolm can finish up top. I've seen a lot of cornerbacks take guys' legs out because that's what they should do against a guy that's bigger than them. I train kids all the time. When I'm training defensive backs, safeties, corners, I tell them. We had a kid that played at, I had a kid, Trey Watkins, that played at Long Island University right now. They played Florida the first game. I told them, do not tackle those running backs up top. Do not do it. You chop them down, because they're big, strong, and powerful guys. You're 180 pounds. Do not try to tackle those guys up top. And that's something that, when it happens a few times, is like, all right, maybe I should go lower. So I'm with you with that one, with Banks. Like, I don't think it's an effort thing. It's a decision-making thing. You have to make a decision to do that. And then it looks like bad effort because you can't tackle these guys. Saquon Barkley's not getting tackled one-on-one with a cornerback that's tackling him up top. Not happening.
He was a better hitter and a better tackler as a rookie than he has been his last 2 years. And I personally believe go ahead, and I appreciate the call. Thank you. I want to finish up this point, though. Go ahead. We'll get you another time. The thing about Banks is, I think he needs to clean out his head, because his plays at defensive back has gone in the wrong direction these past 2 seasons. He was much better in his rookie year than he is now in every aspect. And even though he's doing well with kickoff returns, and we just heard from Michael Gabriel that they love him on kickoff returns, I think when he gets into this offseason and decompresses and just gets away from it. Remember, he just had babies, twins.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This year. Yeah, just a couple weeks ago.
Congrats to him. I didn't know that.
Just a few weeks ago. He had some kids. I don't know if that also was part of the whole distraction, having a family and stuff. But I think that Banks needs to clean out his head at the end of the season, decompress, get with whoever the defensive coordinator is going to be for the 2026 campaign, and spend the offseason rediscovering the player that he was when he was at Maryland. I would not give up on this guy.
No.
He's only going to be going into his 4th year. He does have the year is on his contract. He's with the Giants through 2026. I wouldn't pick up his option. I would tell him, you're going to go into the final year of your deal
you gotta prove it.
without the extension, okay? Give him a chance to prove it. I'd like to see what he does with that opportunity.
And he has to do it.
No doubt.
Right?
If he wants to make a career, he's got to do it.
You're talking about he got these new twins here. If you want to play in the NFL, you have to perform better. Because the trend for him as a 4th-year guy, or he's 4th year.
He will be a 4th-year guy next year.
So this is 3rd year. This is his 3rd year.
26 is his 4th year.
He's trending down this year.
And that can't happen.
It cannot happen. It cannot happen for your longevity in the league. You know, it's all about timing. It's all about timing when you hit the market not even hit the market, when you're up for a contract. It's all about timing. That's why you look at Daniel Jones. Why did Daniel Jones get because he played his best football when it was time to play your best football. And you don't wait until the contract, because when you stack those years up, that's what really secures you as a really good player in the NFL. But everybody sees this film. And not that it's effort in all of the plays, because a lot of people talk about effort. I'm telling you right now, there's not a lot of cornerbacks that can tackle running backs be above the knees and that can bring them down. They're just not physically capable to do that. I was taught, I mean, I'm always doing it because I play linebacker, but I saw defensive backs being coached to hit guys below the waist, because that's advantageous for them. Yes, you got to have your head on the right side so they don't knee you in your head. But I just don't see guys tackling guys like that. He has to make smarter decisions when it comes to making tackles. Take better angles, better support angles when he's on the outside, because you don't need to make tackles sometimes when they bring it out to you. All you got to do is send the guy back into where you're forcing from, because most of the time he's outside coming in. And if he chooses to go inside, which I've seen from him, not even just him, a lot of the younger defensive backs multiple times this year, you take away your help. Right. And you have 10 guys on defense that's supposed to help you, but your decision making will make you on an island. And now it looks like you're the bad tackler, when I don't expect DBs to be good tacklers. Right? Deion Sanders, what's his knock? He wasn't a great tackler. But he makes smart decisions, though. So he wasn't out there as much. You send them back. Jack Rabb used to say this all the time. I got the receivers on the outside, and I send everything back to you guys. Because he knew. Jack Rabb was a little dude, right? When he had to do it, he did. But then I've also seen him get ran over a couple of times. But he was low, and he tried his best. And that's all I can ask for a corner. And because he don't make smart decisions, it's not looking like he's trying his best at times. Right. And we're talking about Banks here.
There can be a perception.
Yes, if you make the wrong decision.
That is different than necessarily what you're really seeing.
Exactly. Like sometimes people think like, oh, he didn't get a great effort. Early in the season, Nubin, he was one-on-one with Saquon on one of those games, and he broke outside, and they were like his effort. No, he just made the wrong decision. It wasn't his effort. So some people look at that as being like, oh, the effort's there, the effort's not there, and it's like, no, he just made the bad decision. You have to be a better decision maker, especially on defense, especially when you're one-on-one with the most talented athletes in the world. That's what the running backs are in the NFL. Sure. They're the most talented. They're all fast. They all can cut on a dime. Tremendous balance. They're all super explosive. They're the best athletes in the world. You got to make better decisions when you try to tackle those guys.
Well, you know better than anybody, Jason. You played the game for almost a decade. The bottom line is, if you take a bad angle on somebody, you're not putting yourself in a good tackling position. So now, no matter what technique you have, if you have taken a bad angle, chances are pretty good that you're going to screw up the tackle.
Yep. And it might look like you're not giving the right effort.
Right.
Because a lot of these players in the NFL, and that's tight ends, receivers, the offensive guys, quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, even Jackson Dart, they make you look silly at times because they understand angles. They understand the decisions that you make. They make a decision off it. They understand leverage very well because a lot of these guys been playing football since they were 6 years old, tackle football. I didn't start playing until I was 14. Right? There was a difference when I got to the league from a guy like myself that was playing roughly, 8 years, 9 years when I got to the NFL at that point in my life, to guys that were playing almost 20 years of football. There's a difference when you play that long and they treat it that way.
All right, let's go back to the phones at 201-939-4513. Coach Kevin is in Arizona. You're next on the program. Hello.
What's up, Coach?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey, good to talk to you.
Yeah, we've talked a few times, Paul, and JC. You made some comments earlier. I think I have to agree with you, and I'm going to give you guys two keys. I'm not going to make this call long, and I'll just hang up and let you guys respond. The first key is if Capsicum can repeat what he did last week and control the ball, that's the best thing you could do to keep that offense of Detroit off the field. So that's key number one. Do what you did last week. Control the clock. Give your team the best chance to win. The second part of my comment is, after all my years of coaching, it's pretty simple. If you stay in the same defense and the same look, guess what? The offensive coordinators up in the box, they're going to pick you alive.
Yeah.
Detroit they're going to score endlessly. So I say mix it up. Do a zone blitz if you want. Make sure you got somebody to cover. Yes, it's risky. Sure, you might get You might get burned, but I'll tell you what, it's better than sitting back and just letting them dictate the entire game and totally control you like they did last week. If they didn't drop half those passes, they would have had a lot more points.
Yeah.
But listen, you got to mix it up. Send 5. I think Carl Banks made a very good point about 2-3 weeks ago. Numbers, 5, send 6, but drop guys to cover where the guy, replace the guy that you're sending. Mix it up. Keep that offense off balance. Goff is not. Listen, he has his reads 1, 2, 3. He's looking here, here, here. If you mix it up in disguise and you drop guys to replace the guys taking their place, and you mix it up and you send 4, then the next time you send 5, or you go to a zone in the back end instead of just staying in man the whole game. If you just rush 4 and stay in man, you're going to get eaten alive. So mix it up, send a zone blitz, have guys. I love even the radar defense where guys are all standing straight up on the defensive line. You don't know who's coming, you don't know who's going, you don't know who's dropping. You got to mix it up. You just can't stay in a vanilla defense, 4-man rush and zone. In man coverage, especially with our injuries in the back end. You got to take chances. Sure, somebody might break free. You might give up a big play, but I'll tell you what, I'd rather take my chances and gamble just based on the last few weeks and the last fourth quarters that we've been watching this breakdown. Mix it up, take a chance, show a little fire, and bring some energy into that backfield and maybe cause some disruptions. That's my view. That's where I think that and ball control on offense, I think those are the 2 keys. So maybe we'll see some good news here for the Giants this week. That's all I have to say.
All right, Kevin. Thanks for the
Coach.
call. Please call again. Now, JC, to be fair on the other side of this coin, if you're going to be really, really aggressive with a lot of blitzing, especially if you're going to send a lot of 5s and some 6s and stuff, well, you're probably going to be more apt to do that if you've got your legitimate starting secondary behind them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just say that you could be a bit gun shy in doing that when you know you've got second and third stringers playing in your secondary. I'm not saying that I disagree with your premise, because by nature I'm an aggressively planned defensive guy myself.
Yeah.
But I do see the other side of that coin when sometimes you're saying, well, look what we have playing back there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also agree with him with being basically versatile and showing some diversity on defense. Jared Goff, before last week, he was, I think, the highest completion percentage in the league. There was 4 games where he was right around
when he has time
% completion percentage.
He's like a surgeon.
Yeah, he is. You can't let him do that. Last week, you saw the game. Did you watch the game against the Eagles? I don't know if you watched the game.
I did not watch the whole game. I looked at cut-ups.
Right, so I watched it live on TV. A lot of times I don't have time to watch all of the games, but I actually watched that live. And not even listening to the commentary, you saw he was rattled. He was completely rattled last week. He couldn't complete the ball even when there was guys open at the end of the game.
It was a throwback to some of his early days with the Rams.
Right, which you can see. And we haven't seen that in years from Jared Goff.
No.
But that goes to show you when you can get pressure on a guy, i.e. Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against the Giants, right? Tom Brady's the best quarterback ever. He looked like a normal quarterback, if not below average quarterback, because of what? Because of the pressure that was on him.
Right.
And it's not just the defensive line. It's the scheme. It's the defensive backs, because a lot of times when they send 20 numbers and single-digit numbers, not the defensive backs, 30 numbers, the offensive line don't even account for those guys.
No, they'll come clean.
They'll come clean free. You got to get them down. You got to have them thinking of it. Well, and then
absolutely.
You line up again, and then you play coverage on the back end of that. Now he's sitting back, and he might get antsy. That's what I saw from the Eagles last week. They got pressure on him early in the game. They discouraged them because they were in the D-backs' faces every single play. Every catch was contested. And at the end of the game, even when they had some time and he was in the pocket, he was completely rattled. I haven't seen him like that in a while, but I know why. Because they was all over his butt early in that game. And they got him down early in that game. And I think the way to be able to get this team to slow down a little bit, number one, you're going to have to stop the run. I don't think the Giants can actually do that against this team. Number two, you have to rattle this quarterback. You have a guy on this team that's second in the league in sacks, and Brian Burns. Don't allow him to be don't make him the only guy that can get pressure. Send it from different ways. Show something that you haven't done, because this team is good enough. If they know what you're doing, they can score 50 points They can have over 500 yards. I've never seen an offense like this, not in a very long time. This is like the Rams, the best show on turf back in the day.
They execute at a high level, and they're fundamentally sound.
And they're explosive at every position.
They got
every
playmakers.
position.
They got playmakers. Although Laporta's out,
that's
a big deal. Laporta's out.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's a big deal
out
for real. Yeah.
You know, he's one of the higher productive tight ends in this league. So having him out does take a little bit of poison out of their venom,
but then you
so
put
to speak.
the ball more in Gibbs' hands, more in Williams' hands.
Do you really want to do that?
St. Brown.
Not this week. You don't want to do that. Hey, Goff, throw it. Don't run it. We go back to the phone. Scott in New Mexico. Go ahead. You're next on the show. Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Scott.
What's up, Scott?
I think both of your points are valid because you're both defensive-minded. And the only comment I would make before I get to my main point, there's a pretty wide gap between being in a game and actually winning it. And even though the Giants have been in the game, they don't know how to close. But in the running game, the thing that I'm concerned with is you always need an anchor in the middle of the field as far as your defensive personnel who can stop the run. That's always been Dexter Lawrence. I'm not trying to single him out, but if you look at his stats, which I'm not going to bother to read, I just reviewed them, as compared to his seasons from 22 to 24.
They're underwhelming.
They're underwhelming. Good point. And I wanted to know, as defensive-minded people, of which I am too, I think if you have a great defense, you can win a lot of the games. I mean, people like Vita Vea, DeForest Buckner, Chris Jones, Leonard Williams is having a great year in Seattle.
Yes, he is.
Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, these are the guys that you need as anchors. And Dexter Lawrence, to me, was always that anchor. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can have a good run-stopping game without that anchor. So the question I have for you is the injury that he had to the elbow more significant than anyone's imagining, or is his play simply not performing the way he used to, which would be disquieting to me? And you know him fairly well. So if you don't have the Dexter Lawrence being able to handle the run, how do you have a good run-stopping defense? And so I was wondering if there are ways to mask what and his snaps are down from last year. I think he was averaging 70, now he's down to 50. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, what is the problem with him? Is there a problem? Because I've always thought of him and Chris Jones as being the top two run stoppers in the NFL. And they're sort of interchangeable. Both are great. But what's the problem with Dexter right now? And I'm not trying to single him out because obviously it's a team game. But unless you have that anchor right there, which he's always been, even though he might get double or triple teamed, he's not effective as he was the first 3 years of the season. Do you have any explanation for it?
All right, Scott, we'll take this answer when you hang up. I'm going to let you go schematically about this, but I do want to talk to the elbow thing for a second. When he got the dislocated elbow the end of last November, I had talked to a sport orthopedist who was not familiar with Dexter's case. Let me make that clear. I'm giving you a generic hypothetical here based on sports medicine. I was told it could take up to a full year to get full range of motion, full strength, and full confidence back in that arm. Let's not forget, the season starts in September. Mm-hmm. It does not start in November. Only now are we getting a full year removed from his initial injury. Yeah. Let's keep that in the back of our minds. I'm not using that as an excuse or even a reason. What I'm simply saying is, hypothetically, there may be still some physical residue with that arm where it is not exactly where he needs it to be.
It's not a maybe, that's a fact.
Well, I don't know how he healed. I don't know the answer to that. So I want to keep it as a maybe.
It's not the same as it was before.
I don't think
It
so.
can't be because he had surgery.
So. Well, yeah, and he wears a brace.
But
I'm
going to use your point to talk about myself. When I had a Lisfranc injury, my second year in the league, and I missed the entire season, when I came back, Paul, I came back and played opening week against Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football, and I had his first sack of the season against Aaron Rodgers. In that game, and it took me 18 months to fully recover. I was playing games, and I couldn't stand on my left foot by itself. And I was playing games that way.
Right.
The reason why I retired was because I wasn't quote unquote injured, but I couldn't give a good output anymore. Like my body was so torn up and beat up. And I've recovered from most of the things, and I played well the following season. And I think that's a point that you made there that I fully agree with. I don't think Dexter Lawrence is fully recovered. He's not injured anymore, but he probably doesn't have the strength that he had years prior. Mind you, he's not moving around 180-pound guys. These guys are 300 pounds plus. Sometimes it's two guys. So I do see that, but watching film last week against Green Bay, he had his best game of the year.
He did.
He had his best game of the year, so
And
he's trending in the right direction.
We're getting to that 12-month period now.
Right. He's trending in the right. That's what I thought you were going to say. You talking about getting to a year.
Well, that's what I am saying, that it is possible up to this point, the first 2/3 of this season, maybe he hasn't been physically exactly what he needs to be.
Yep.
And he's not going to admit that.
No, he's not.
There's
You
no
can't.
way.
You can't say that. No.
Because now you're giving everybody a target.
And he's not on the injury report because he's not injured.
Right.
He's recovering just like anybody's recovering.
Exactly.
And you stay in physical therapy. You stay in rehab. You do your maintenance consistently. But he's probably going home every night like, come on, man, like talking to his arm. Like, that's what I did. Like,
How much did that play on your head, too? Psychologically,
much.
Does that impact you as a player?
There were certain things I couldn't do on my left side. Like if you asked me to run the hoop, you know how you bend and I couldn't do that. And I was playing and I was not on the injury report. So that's what I'm saying. People don't understand the physical and mental toll that football plays on you. And you see it time in and time again where it's like some guys are like, oh, he's not the same anymore, but the following year he has a great year. That's because he probably wasn't really fully recovered, not just physically, but mentally, to how do I play with this new arm, this new leg that is not the same as it used to be. There's a couple cases like Adrian Peterson in 2012 where he rushed for 2,000 yards after ACL. Like that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen. That's the anomaly in some of these injury situations. But I do see Dexter, and he has a great point. I think all phenomenal defenses do have an anchor. And I think the anchor that we have is maybe just not feeling like himself, and I think that's what we're seeing out there. We're seeing a guy that maybe doesn't feel like himself and he's trying as hard as he can, but he can't do certain things. But I have seen, like last week's film for Dexter, for number 97, looked the best I've seen all year.
He did.
And that is a good sign to see.
And when a guy like him has put a standard way, way, way up here and he's not quite himself, well, it's noticeable.
And I want to talk about what Banks said about him, right? Everybody, Banks, why would you talk about Dexter? I agree with him and I disagree with him. I agree because you should call out your best players to say, hey, you set a standard yourself on how you played. But when he said they don't respect him, that is totally wrong. You watch the film, he's still getting doubled. So you tell me if they respect him or not, because the play we were talking about with Flanagan fouls with that B gap, Dexter was triple teamed on that play. There were 3 guys on Dexter. So when you talk about the respect, he's still getting that respect. That's where the other guys need to go ahead and shoot that gap because it's bigger than it would be if Dexter wasn't there. That guard is not coming off as fast as he normally would because Dexter is still demanding that double team, and he's having guys stay on him. I expect other guys to make up for Dexter Lawrence's numbers not being where they're supposed to be.
Let's not forget that even though Bobby Okereke has been healthy all season, Micah McFadden was a downhill, stuff the gap linebacker.
TFL machine.
With over 100 tackles last year. That loss does not get talked about enough with this porous rushing defense. Real quick, Phil in North Carolina, we want to get you in before we end the program. Go ahead. You're next on the show. Hello, Phil. Phil.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
What's up, Phil?
We're squeezing you in, Phil. Thank you.
I had mute on because I didn't. Yeah, sorry. So real quick, I got two things. One is defensive calling. I noticed, the contrast with Wink, it's not just the frequency of blitzing, although that's a big part of it, but it's the randomness of the blitzing. Wink did a lot of corner blitzes, and we can't do that in the present configuration because we play mostly man 10 yards off. So there's no way we can get those corners into blitz. So I think that predictability is really hurting us, even when we're doing a standard rush, because Wink would be great at bringing those guys up. The second part of that's part B, is that the consistently playing off by 10 yards, I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I'd rather be jamming, not every play, but jamming and going down with the ship, with the fight, not this vanilla defense. And obviously, we got nothing to lose because we're the worst defense in the league. And so that's my first part. So the second thing, because I know you're in a rush, is it's very apparent to me sometimes, and maybe to you guys too, like when we get some of these top prospects and they're talked about, and you see them on the pro field, whether it's Evan Neal and his lack of stability, we're flopping all over the place, or even Carter, in that I see he's a good player, but he does not have the closing speed of a Micah Parsons. He just doesn't. You can just see it on the screen. How do we...
physically, he's probably pretty close to being as talented, but he's just not there yet because he's... What'd you say about rookies?
He's young.
That's
it. All I'm going to say is young.
Let's say
inexperienced.
there you go. Young and inexperienced, and he's got a lot to learn. There's no doubt. But I would not close the book on him or make a blanket statement like he doesn't have the speed or the talent or skill level to be a dominant player in this league. I suspect he probably does. We just haven't seen it come out yet.
Hey, I hope you're right, Paul. I'd rather be wrong. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of football in my, almost 70 years. So
I understand.
I just kind of see these things, So, but if you could comment on the also on the defense, I appreciate it, and I'll take it off the air.
Sure. All right, real quick.
Well, I mean, look, I don't think that when you have something great, right? You can stand on business, right? You can, use your guns, right? The Giants haven't had that, so why not try some new stuff? If what you've been doing hasn't been working, it would make sense to me to add something extra in that nobody's prepared for. And I've said this plenty of times. I just said it 20 minutes ago. They don't account for DBs blitzing most of the time. They just come scot-free. And if you haven't shown that the first time you do it, I bet you it's going to be free.
I will just make one comment here, and you can yay or nay me if you like. Because they've blown 4 games in the fourth quarter, okay, specifically with 5 minutes or less to go, that says to me, and this is not about the rush defense in particular, because that's one segment that we just know the bodies are not really stout enough to get it done right now. But I would say that schematically, when certain game situations come into play, they are not making the proper adjustments and not in the right mindset and not, I said the word to John the other day, they're the most unclutched team that I've ever seen.
Yep.
It's unbelievable because you can't tell me this team does not have enough talent if they can shut out Denver for 3 quarters and then suddenly, boom, give up 33 points. Look, if you truly don't have the ability, then they're going to score on you during those other 3 quarters.
Yeah.
No team is going to go 3 quarters and say, oh, you know what? We're not going to play for 3 quarters. We're just going to let the Giants stop us at will. And in the fourth quarter, we're just going to turn it on. That's not what's happening here. These teams are playing for 4 quarters. So that says to me it's not a talent issue. Because if it was, these teams would be leading the Giants from the very beginning for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, I agree. And clutch, finish, synonyms, I would say, especially in terms of sports. And look what the Packers did. Packers, I don't know how many drops they had on offense. Collectively, offense and defense, they probably had 7, 8 drops between the interceptions and Dobbs dropping, I think, 3 passes.
They didn't do a great job of executing.
But at the end, when it came down to it,
they
made the catches that they're
supposed
to make. Big-time catches by Dobbs and Christian Watson on that last drive, and a big-time interception to seal the game for their defense. And it's not about what happens in the first 3 quarters, Paul. Most of these games come down to the 4th quarter in the last couple possessions. You have to play your best football late in games. Whether it's mentally, physically, the fatigue that sets in, whether it's the doubt that creeps in the back of your head. So this is the same old thing that's happened. The Giants have to do a better job in getting rid of that and figuring out a way to finish these games, because that's what we've seen. The Giants have been in almost Giants had 11 games. They've been in 9 of them. I mean, even the game that they won against the Eagles, they were beating the Eagles pretty handily the whole entire game.
Okay, so if you don't have talent, if the talent really does stink, you're getting hammered in almost all those games.
You wouldn't be in
and that's not happening.
most of the games, like we've seen in the past.
You have to have some level of capability to be competitive.
They have it, but
and
they're
by the
just
way,
missing that finish, that clutch gene, as you said.
And I have the Giants for 4 drops in the Green Bay game, too. So we could talk about the Packers drops, but the Giants also had 4 drops. And, yeah, as long as I got the chart up, I'm going to give it to you, Jonathan. 26 drops this year by the Giants. And 13 of them were either first downs or touchdowns that they dropped. How about that?
Wow.
All right?
We can't end on that note. We got to say something positive. We can't end on that.
I don't know what else to say. It is what it is. Folks, that'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Just as a reminder, do want to get into one promo announcement. The Giants Huddle and the Giants Roundtable that you do. I forget what they call that.
Hangout.
Yeah, the Giants Hangout. Mm-hmm. The Giants Hangout is up. It's on the archive from this week's program. Jonathan is always a part of that. The Giants Huddle is usually done by John Schmelk. We had all kinds of interviews there with Giants people, previews of the game, NFL dignitaries. Great stuff. It's all there as part of the Giants podcast networks. Again, on platforms everywhere, as well as giants.com/podcasts. We're coming to you from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Giants in Detroit, 1 o'clock on Sunday in the Motor City. For Jonathan Casillas, I'm Paul Dottino. We'll see you next time on Big Blue Kickoff Live. So long, everybody.